Okay, so my Workhorse has a Dana S130. Your W22s usually have, I think, a Dana S150. And it's deceiving. The 150s are so much bigger in size. They're huge. Even, and they hold like twice as much oil. I think a change on the Dana S130 is like 7 or 8 quarts. I got a video on that called the Forgotten Oil Change because people never change the differential hardly. And I even called Dana. Dana Tech told me, he said if he had a motor home and his Dana unit like this, he would change it like at least every 3 years. And who is it? There's a Spartan chassis, I think it is, on their big differentials. They tell you to change your oil annually, and it's not so much the oil, but it's just to get the water out of them because you got that big giant canister and they sweat, and the water gets in there and dilutes the oil. And I guess if an RV sits a lot, you got all those gears that's exposed to the air because all the oil's settled down, and then you got droplets of water constantly dripping on the gears throughout the season. And they want you to get that oil out there and get it flushed and changed. So something should be done. And that thing was tight. I had to put my feet on that thing to break that thing loose. Let's just see what it looks like here. Come on, baby. A little long plug, isn't it? I think it has, yeah, okay, we got oil. All right, so we're in good shape. Let me see here. Well, I'm gonna make a mess, ain't I? Well, let me get 2 hands on this because I want to pull that out. I want to check that magnet, see if I got any metal debris on it. I'll shove me a paper towel in it real quick. Well, this is a little scary. I found something I really didn't want to see at all. That sliver of metal just came out of my differential. So I'll be taking a picture of that, sending that maybe off to Dana Tech and see what they think that's come from and what I need to do about it. It's always something. Okay, well, as you've seen earlier, I took the fill plug out and I found a piece of metal. So now I got me a 7/8 socket 1/2-inch drive ratchet. I've loosened up this drain bolt and I'm gonna drain the oil out. I got me a nice clean tote because this holds 12 quarts. It's about 7 or 8 quarts in this differential. So I'm gonna drain this out and I'll see what else we find. I'm hoping we don't find any more metal. That's not gonna be a good day at all. So let's see how this comes out. All right, it's a draining, so we'll let that drain for a while and we'll check it. Hopefully everything's gonna be nice and clean, and hopefully I've only got that one sliver. We'll find out. Well, it's been a few days since I found my piece of metal in my differential, and of course I didn't like it, but I took pictures of it and I sent it to Dana. Let me clarify. This is the one I just found. These 2 little specks, I found those years ago, and I threw them in a little bag here, just to threw them in my toolbox just to hang on to them, just so I could kind of document it. And so this thing, they call it a milling chip. I sent a picture to Dana Corporation because it's a Dana S130 is what we got here in this RV. And they said, you know, it's a milling chip. Sometimes it's near impossible, I guess, during the manufacturing process to get rid of all the chips. And I asked him, I said, even after 70,000 miles? He said, yeah, sometimes they'll hang down there in a corner and they'll eventually break free and float around, and then the magnet will pick them up. And then I got these 2 little pieces many years ago. And sometimes, because the one's kind of curled up a little bit, that can be from the tapping process where they tap the threads, and those little chips can come off and get down in there and sit and eventually get hung up on the magnet. So this is a simple thing to do. You can do it in 5 minutes. Like for ours, all we need is a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. Get in there and unscrew it. Even if you don't plan on, and of course they should change your differential every few years. If you're not going to do that, at least check it every year. But before you go on a trip, get in there and unscrew it. Hopefully, now you'll probably see some fuzz, which is kind of normal. See, I wipe most of it off, but you'll see a little bit of that pasty stuff, but that's pretty normal. And you can see where I wiped it off here. You can see some maybe a tiny little speckles of metal. And but if you take yours off and you see a big tooth or a couple of teeth, or heavens forbid a ball bearing or something other, geez, then you know you got problems. But I think if you see little flakes like this, it's not such a big deal that you have to really worry about right now. So now let me show you what I'm doing as I put this back together. Okay, you see this tray here? This is what I drained my oil out in several days ago, and I let it sit. And I just transferred the oil with this pump. I transferred it from this container to this one because I wanted to sit and settle. So I wanted to make sure there's nothing in there and everything's fine. There's no metal flakes. Everything looks good. So that makes me feel better about my differential. But one cool thing I want to talk about also now is this product. It's from a website called filterpumper.com. The gentleman who invented this needed some help with his RV. He reached out to me. I helped him out with it. And so for his appreciation, he sent me this device. And it's really cool. He makes several different ones to do different jobs for different types of fluids. This particular one does it's like kerosene, diesel fuel, engine oil, motor oil, transmission fluid, even gear oil, like I'm about to show you. But also, what's cool about it is the fact that it not only pumps, but it also filters it. This is a 10 micron filter. To give you an idea what this is. So 10 micron, a human hair is about 70 microns. Once you get below 40 microns, at that point you can't even see something. If you got a 40 micron dot, the human eye can't pick that up. So any kind of debris at all that's in this oil, it's going to filter it out down to a 10 micron size. So that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna get this. Oh, and the hose, I'm really impressed about this hose. This is some real high quality flexible hose. It's not that hard clear stuff that gives you trouble. It's got a real nice shut off valve on it. The quality is made extremely well because I'm trying to do this with one hand. Hang on a second. All right, let me see here, and I had myself tangled up there for a second. It's got this on and off valve, nice brass fittings, made extremely well. So now I'm going to transfer this oil over into this, and when I'm doing it, it'll be filtering it at the same time. See that? Now check it out. See how it pumps on both strokes, up and down. Let me see how quick it pumps. Because I'm doing this with one hand, so it would be faster if I had two hands probably. So this oil that I'm transferring is also being filtered through that 10 micron filter. So if there's any minute debris, and I've seen where even oil you get in a brand new can, during the manufacturing process, it can pick up debris. They could have a pump or some kind of anything fail in these oil processing plants, and that little bit of debris could end up in your gallon of or 5 gallon pail of oil. So that's another reason why something like this is good to have, especially when you're dealing with hydraulics, anything like that. You want to keep all that debris out. Of course, like with our differentials, because we don't have an oil filter. All we got is our magnet to catch the stuff. But if you keep the crud out before it gets in there, that's all the better. All right, so I'm gonna get this transferred over, and then I'll use the same pump here to pump it into the differential. And then we can put the plug back in it and get ready for a road trip. Okay, so under the RV we are, and this is like I talked about the W24. It's got so much clearance. See how the wheels are on the ground. I got no jacks or anything down. I just crawl up in here and do whatever I need to do. I like that a whole lot. All those big diesel pushers are so low to the ground you can't do anything under them. So you see I've got my little pumper set up here. Let me give one more shout out to that website here. What's it called? Go to filterpumper.com and you get you one of these nice toys too. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. Yeah, there it goes. All right, so I'm going to get that pumped in there until it's full. Put the plug back in it. Okay, we're all filled up. Snug this back up, and we are ready for the road. I'm going to head off to Michigan, and when we get back, I'll be sure to do a quick check to see if there's any more slivers at all. Let's get a good snug. There we go. Alrighty. Oh, and just to point out, in case I didn't do that earlier, is our drain bolt on a W24 is this right here. pull that bolt out. That's where all your oil will come out. With this one, takes about 7 or 8 quarts to change it out. And last time I put it in, I put in synthetic, and I think it was like 80 something bucks then. It'll probably be 120 now if I go back with synthetic. Okay, a couple of more notes I wanted to tell you about. I made a note here. I remember, because I love these little temperature guns to check things. I remember a friend of mine, we was traveling. His RV had 90,000 miles. The differential on his got changed, I think, at 50,000. So the differential had only been changed one time. And I don't guess probably hadn't been checked since that one time. This was on a diesel pusher, a Phaeton. We was traveling together. We made it out to Carson City, Nevada, and the differential failed. And that was a very expensive ordeal, like to the tune of $10,000. So can you imagine being on the road and having a differential fail? Yeah, well, I experienced it with him. You know, we was there in Carson City for 2 weeks. We bunked together in the RV and got it all took care of and back on the road. But in hindsight, going back, if maybe we had checked the differential, just checking the oil, checking the magnet before we left on that trip together, we may have picked up the metal debris beforehand and said, hey, we can't go nowhere until we find out where this metal's coming from and get it took care of, instead of being on the road when we had the breakdown. That's when his differential did that. That's when I started concentrating on my differential, and I remember I swapped it out. I had regular conventional oil in it. It was my temperature, it'd run 155, 160 degrees. When I switched it over to synthetic, it did drop the temperature down to 140 degrees. So put that on your maintenance list at least every year. Pull that plug, check it out, see what it looks like, and then probably change the oil at least every 3 or 4 years. Thanks for watching. Have a blessed day. See you. Bye.